And we're live! Hello all and welcome, and I am the Realist Philosopher, and this is the Realist Philosopher Show. So how y'all doing today? Hope you're all doing good, fine, and well. Now, for those of you who missed my show yesterday, I suggest you check it out. The entire show was devoted to essentially slamming the latest crappy Game of Thrones episode where Mary Sue Arya, spoiler alert, where Mary Sue Arya killed the Night King and Jon was stuck behind a rock, which somehow the Night King's dragon's fire wasn't able to destroy, even though earlier we had seen its fire wrecking the castle. So go check that out. It's on my channel, my latest video. I think you'll enjoy it a great deal. I don't think anybody has done a more thorough analysis, more thorough and in-depth analysis of just what was wrong with that fucking episode. All right. On to the craziest shit in the news. Crazy and stupid shit. I tell you, people wouldn't have gotten away with this nonsense 150 years ago. People were smarter then. So Bernie is back. The 1%. I hate the 1%. But Bernie, aren't you in the 1%? Yeah, but I didn't get into 1% the same way that the 1% that were before me got into 1%. Oh, okay, Bernie. What makes you so much better than them? Well, they got into the 1% by stealing that money from the poor, pathetic people of the world. All the proletariat scum that are beneath me, because now I'm in the 1%. But I'm not evil because I'm in the 1%. But they're evil because they're in the 1%. Oh, so what makes you better, Bernie? I mean, you're in the 1% now. Well, they got that money by stealing, as I said. But, Bernie, aren't you just getting your money from them? I mean, the rich 1% that you're always talking about, which you're a part of, that you say you're better than, didn't you just steal the money from them to become one of them? Yeah, but I'm better than them because, you see, they stole it. All I did was steal what they stole. Wasn't it still stolen? Yeah, but I didn't steal it. I love it. That's great. You gotta love Bernie. Gotta fucking love Bernie. Yeah, that crazy old fucking uncle. I didn't have an uncle like this, but okay. I mean, I did have a crazy fucking uncle, but he would walk around and whisper, fuck you, under his breath, and I hope you die, to everybody. And, you know, he was extremely mentally ill, so. As might Bernie be. So Bernie has had some things to say on his Twitter account. I can't imagine and let this guy fucking have Twitter. Good Lord. Listen to this. So Bernie says on Twitter, what would be truly heroic is if Disney used its profits from Avengers to pay all of its workers a middle-class wage, instead of paying its CEO, Bob Iger, $65.6 million, over 1,400 times as much as the average worker at Disney makes. I want to stir up class resentment so those people will vote for me because they know that I will take CEO Bob Iger's money and give it to them. I love Bernie. Oh, you gotta love this fucking guy. Yeah, because Bob Iger should be making the same salary as some broad cleaning a room at one of Disney's hotels. Yeah. You know, because his work is of equivalent value of some broad who gets paid $13.50 an hour, and she creates $16 worth of value an hour for the company. Ooh, yeah, she's producing tons of profit. Meanwhile, CEO Bob Iger, Disney can make direct correlations between certain decisions he's made and say, oh, $150 million bump in their profits or whatever. So let me get this straight. You think CEO Bob Iger, who's showing up at the company, is creating anywhere between $150 million more a year in profit for the company, of which he should get some, right? You're equating that with some broad that creates $16 an hour worth of value cleaning rooms, a hotel maid, essentially. Is that fair? Is it fair? He doesn't think it's fair in the case of the hotel worker. Oh, they're taking her money. They're making profit off of her. She should be able to clean rooms there and have a job and have infrastructure and a place to work and a place to ply her labor and her skills, and she should have to pay nothing to that place that she's using to make money. That's like saying, I can go live in anyone's house and I don't have to pay them rent, even though it's not my house. I love his logic. I know one of these people don't like fucking the idea of property rights, right? Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Oh, Bernie, you're so precious. So he's essentially saying, hey, Bob Iger, why is he getting $65 million? He should give all that way to the workers. He should give that all away to workers. But isn't Bob Iger a worker too? This is the very interesting thing about people like Bernie. He creates this us versus them mentality and tries to make you think the CEO Bob Iger is somehow not a worker, even though he's working 80, 100 hours a week, always on call, 24/7. Oh, okay, but he's not working, right? I love it. And shouldn't what he gets paid have some correlation to how much value he's creating for the company? Bernie certainly seems to think so. He's always complaining that the worker isn't getting enough of the money, enough of the value that they create for the company. The company should not make evil profit. They should get all the profit. The worker, he should use all their facilities and all their infrastructure and pay nothing to the company for the privilege of doing that, because private property is evil, don't you know? Yeah. Oh, we know, Bernie. We know what you think. Yeah, okay. But that's exactly what he's saying here. I love this. Well, by his logic, Bob Iger should be making $150 million a year. Not 65. I don't know. I don't have the imagination to understand how someone could create hundreds of millions of dollars in value just working 80 hours a week. He's just working. It's just work. It's no more valuable than the maid cleaning the room. It's the same type of work. Work is work, right? Well, Bernie wouldn't know work from work because this fucking guy has never had a real job. He once lived in a hippie commune, and he got kicked out of that motherfucker because he was too lazy and didn't want to work. I remember seeing pictures of this fucking guy in communist Russia back in 86 or 88 or something with his shirt off in some fucking pub, singing with a bunch of commies, and the commies were all sitting around talking about how competition is evil. Yeah. When you're a loser who has no real skills and can't compete with other people, you really tend to hate competition. Yeah, communism, the political ideology for losers. Instead of paying CEO Bob Iger $65.6 million, over 1,400 times as much as the average worker at Disney, you should give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, so you're like Robin Hood, Bernie, right? That's right. I'm like Robin Hood. Except I steal from the richer and give to myself. Well, you get the Robin part right, but you don't have the Hood part. That's right, because I do it out in the open. I do my stealing out in the open. I steal from you in the form of taxes, and then I pay myself. But that's not bad, because you stole that money first, because you didn't pay the worker everything that the company got from their labor. And they shouldn't have to pay the company anything from their labor for the privilege of using the company's facilities. I love this guy. He's just so precious with that wacky, crazy fucking gray hair shooting out everywhere like he stuck his finger in an electrical socket, huh? Yeah, let's not take him too seriously, even though if we applied his ideology in practice, it would destroy the fucking world. All right, Bernie. Yeah, let's move on, shall we? Bernie with his fucking $250,000 cars, right? But he's some champion of the fucking poor, right? He was asked at a town hall recently if he wanted to pay more in taxes, and his response was simply to shift the goalpost and change the argument. Oh, well, when Trump starts paying more, I will pay more. So essentially, what you're saying, Bernie, is it doesn't really start with you, and until other individuals start paying their fair share, you won't pay your fair share, even though you're all about collectivism and not individualism. This is very interesting, very interesting. So, by your logic, nobody's ever going to pay their fair share that you say they need to pay. Everybody needs to pay their fair share, but it doesn't start with me. And I'm not a hypocrite because I won't pay my fair share. I don't even know what that number is, but I know it needs to be more because I need more cars. And I want to give myself a raise in the Senate. I'm not making enough money. I need to steal more. This guy. Oh, boy. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some more bleeding heart liberals with pipe dreams of utopia. All right, so next. This story, Homelessness is unacceptable in a rich city like Toronto. Oh, boy. No. Oh, no. UN official says. Oh, of course, it's a UN official. So Toronto is in the thick of a global housing crisis. Yeah. That's what happens when you bring in millions and millions of outsiders into a country that already has a pretty big population, okay? Well, I mean, I guess for square footage, for square miles, I guess it really doesn't have that big a population when we're talking about Canada. But, yeah, I mean, housing, you know, it's kind of limited, right? The more people you bring in, the more demand you have for housing. Guess what happens to the price of housing? It's simple economics, right? The price goes up. Imagine that. There's more people without a requisite increase in the amount of housing means housing becomes more scarce. And guess what happens with scarcity? Whoa! Prices go up. We don't want that. Prices should not go up. The government should control the ways and means of production, including housing. We will have price controls. The price of your housing will not go up. Of course, then nobody will build new housing then because there's no profit to be made. But hey, whatever. Bernie don't like profit, you know. So yeah, it's Toronto is in the thick of a global housing crisis, and human rights and dignity must be put before dollars. Yeah, right. Just like the health of the world, the state of the world, and the health of human beings and our future has to be put ahead of our comfort, right? We need to embrace a certain level of austerity. Then I'll tell you what kind of level. And we need to sacrifice for the Green New Deal, says dummy Ocasio-Cortez, who might actually be dumber than Bernie. I know that's a tough bar to get over there. Yeah. Or sink below, I should say. But then again, I don't know. I mean, at least she had a job, right? You think she's smarter than Bernie? I don't know. Bernie, I mean, you could argue it takes a certain level of intelligence to be that much of a mooch for so long. I mean, this fucking guy, he got to his whole life without working a real job. So I would argue he's probably smarter than her. But anyway, that message was delivered by Leilani Farha. Oh, boy. You know, that's the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the right to housing. Housing's not a right. Is there some cave out there with your name on it? People, when they lived in caves, they didn't have a right to housing. They'd kill each other to get some good shelter. What do you mean you have a right to housing? I don't understand how you have a right to something that somebody has to build, buy materials for, put labor into, sweat, slave, get fucking permits and licenses to build and invest a lot of time and money into. How exactly do you have a right to that? Well, if you're Bernie, you listen to Bernie, you know what he thinks. So you have a right to housing. To the city's Planning and Housing Committee on Tuesday morning, Leilani Farha, the United Nations... Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of repetition here. All right, hold on a sec. Give me a break. I just cut and paste this shit. I don't read it too much beforehand. So worldwide is now accepted and understood. It is now accepted and understood that there's a global housing crisis. Where? Let people build more housing. No, we need rent control. Rent control! Rent control so that people don't have to pay too much. But Bernie, rent control discourages people from building new housing because if you have rent control and you say everybody has to charge X amount, even though a certain area might require Y amount to be profitable to build, then people just build less housing, and then the prices will go up even more because housing will become ever more scarce. I don't care. I need people to vote for me. Smart people are too smart to vote for me. The stupid people I'm pandering to. They don't understand any of that complex stuff anyway, and I don't either. Can you imagine this guy's the CFO of a fucking company? Chief Financial Officer? Oh, my God. That fucking place would tank in a week, wouldn't it? Oh, Lord have mercy. I want to be Chief Financial Officer of Disney. You should make me Chief Financial Officer. I will spread social justice throughout the world. Through the tentacles of Disney's power. Pulling all those strings. Okay, you put Bernie in charge of the financial aspects of Disney. They lose billions within the first month. Hey, Bernie, we think you're doing a shitty job. We think that you should resign or we'll have to fire you because we've lost billions of dollars. That's good. I'm glad we lost billions. That was what I wanted. That means we stole less money. This fucking guy. And of course, that's what social justice warriors do, right? They get into positions of high power, and then they use those positions to essentially enact social justice, which sort of kind of fucking sabotages the company and sends it into the fucking dumper, which is what's happening now with all these fucking franchises in Hollywood. Anyway, the visible homelessness on the streets is unacceptable in a rich country. But the country's not rich, okay? People in this, I love this, so this is what they do. So, you know, this is a categorization error, and a very obvious one. So, people are rich. Countries are not rich. Countries don't exist without the individuals that live within that country, okay? Say you have 1 million billionaires in a country, all right? They're rich. Country's not rich. Country has no money. Government has no money. It steals it from you in the form of taxes, okay? The country's not. But of course you want to make it seem like the country's rich, and there's just this big fucking pie that everybody should be feeding at the trough of. Yeah, but you people are greedily hoarding that pie and not letting other people have their fair share of the pie, even though we don't know exactly what number equates to fair in terms of their share. Yeah, okay. The skyscrapers going up that are clearly not intended for the people who are in housing need and are clearly intended for investors. Need! I love it! You couldn't be any more clear that you're a fucking communist. From each according to their need. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Of course, the communists in Russia found out that didn't work. They had to change it. They found that from each according to their need didn't work when you coupled it with from each according to their ability. It didn't work when you coupled it with to each according to their need, because if you gave everybody what they needed, they wouldn't really work to their full potential and produce very much. So they quickly found that that motto didn't work so well. So they had to alter it. Bernie seems to have missed that lesson. And so did the UN. It's unacceptable. Rich people. It's unacceptable to have rich people if there are also poor people. How dare you create more wealth that benefits everybody? Okay, so the gobbling up of existing apartments by big finance, all of this speaks to me as a crisis. It's not a crisis. You're trying to make it seem like a crisis so that people will embrace your ideological view of the world. Farah's presentation was considered unofficial or outside her role, researching and reporting back to the Committee of the UN on Housing Practices around the world, but she still expressed shock at the conditions in Toronto and urged officials to apply a human rights lens to future planning. Future planning. Why don't you just substitute the word future for central? Central planning! Bernie's getting hard on right now, imagining central planning being fully executed in fucking Toronto in regards to housing. Yeah, he just loves central planning. Yeah. Because you can plan something as complex as an economy. Oh, yeah, sure. It's never worked before, but we'll figure it out. That wasn't real socialism. That was not real socialism because it didn't work. I love it. Excuse me, I'm pouring myself another cup of coffee. If it was real socialism, it would work. How do you know, Bernie? You've never seen real socialism work. I just love making fun of Bernie. Fucking A, it's just unending material. All right, so, yeah, the UN thinks that, yeah, believe it or not, that you need to be controlling the ways and means of production in regards to housing in Toronto. Big fucking surprise. So let me know what you think about that. And let me know what you think about Bernie. I'm going to open up the phone lines for a minute and a half as I make fun of Bernie some more. Well, not phone lines per se. It's my Skype. So if you want to talk to me while the show is going on, and it is called a call-in show, you can Skype me at The Realist Philosopher if you have anything specific to say about this subject. I don't want people going off on tangents and ranting about things that are totally unrelated to what I just talked about. So if you have anything to say about Bernie thinking Bob Iger should be making the same amount as a maid in one of Disney's hotels on an hourly basis, or about the UN wanting to control and regulate housing in Toronto, feel free to Skype me at The Realist Philosopher. That is The Realist Philosopher. And Bernie God. It's a very interesting thing. It's just like that dopey girl in Sweden, the little 16-year-old girl who's being pushed as some kind of prophet. It reminds me of the Oracle of Delphi, or Delphi, however you pronounce it, back in BC times, where they would get these young girls who were supposedly virgins to predict the future of people. And people have this idea in their head that they're very young or innocent and uncorrupted, so they have a more pure and accurate view of the world. People are still playing on that. They've been playing on that trope for thousands of fucking years. And this poor little girl, this poor little autistic Swedish girl, is yet the most recent incarnation of that kind of scam. Oh, she's so young and innocent, and she has such a unique and uncorrupted view of the world. We need to listen to her. And of course, she's only 16, so if people criticize her, all the bleeding hearts will come out of the woodwork, and all the people that want to defend a little kid, which is most people, are going to say, oh, how dare you? You can't criticize a little kid. You attack her, she's going to cry. How dare you attack a little child? And they did this with fucking David Hogue, too. David Hogue. Of course, it was pretty obvious from the get-go that little cunt was nothing more than an opportunist. He wasn't even at the school. He was at home in bed skipping school, if I recall. I think. I'm not exactly sure, but I think so, yeah. I think from what I heard, he was at school, home, sleeping, and he heard the reports. He jumped on his little BMX bike, pedaled to school as fast as he could with his fucking camera, because he knew, I could get some social justice warrior creds, baby, and maybe I can get on CNN if I get some good footage of people running out of the school, hooting and hollering. And he did. Now the little cunt wants to run for fucking Congress after he gets out of college, where he's gonna fucking major in, get this, political science. Little shithead got into fucking Harvard with, I think it was a 1260 on his fucking SAT. He's a real genius. The average is 1450 or something. 1420 or 1450. And he somehow got in with a score of 200 points lower than the average. Yeah. Oh, the fix wasn't in there. Oh, no. All right, so I guess nobody wants to contact me about Bernie's idiocy, or the UN's idiocy, in regards to housing. Let's move on to the next story, shall we? Oh, this is some funny stuff. I always like to throw some more lighthearted, funny shit into the mix. Leonardo DiCaprio's ex, Erin Heatherton, files for bankruptcy, says she made less than $3,000 this year. That's great. That's great. When you're dating Leonardo DiCaprio, don't bother working. He's going to pay for everything. And then I'm going to get used to a certain level of comfort and a certain lifestyle. And then when he breaks up with my ass, I'm going to be left destitute. Woe is me. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo, Erin Heatherton. And there's a bunch of social justice warrior feminist pinheads online saying that Leonardo DiCaprio should help her. White knight idiots. Why should he help her? Can somebody tell me? Why he should help this broad? I'd like to know. I really would. Why should he help her? Oh, my God. Oh, that's why. She's a good-looking broad. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Mystery solved there. So the former Victoria's Secret angel, who's now 30, I love it. He's like half again her age. He's 44. It's great. It's great. It's great when you have money. You can date the hottest broads and then dump them. Dump them, pump them, and dump them, baby. Woo. Too hot. Overly hot coffee. Burned my throat. I bought a really good thermos. A little too good. Insulates very well. They didn't insulate that well when I was a kid. Fuck. Holy shit. Okay, let's move on. So, the former Victoria's Secret Angel Model 30 is reportedly over get this, $500,000 in debt. $500,000 fucking dollars. Oh my God. According to court documents obtained by the blast. Earlier this year, Heatherton, whose birth name is Erin Bubbly. I guess that's not a good name for a model, right? She has such a bubbly personality. That's what you say about fat people, right? Filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, listing $6,464.57 in assets. I'm richer than this broad by far. What the hell? She gets out of a relationship with fucking Leonardo DiCaprio and she's destitute. What happened, lady? You didn't take some of that little cheddar that he gave you along the way and stock it away? A little sock or something? And $560,000 in liabilities. I don't get it. What's funny is she was making good money before she started dating him. And then somehow her work dried up. She stopped working when she got with Leonardo. Of course, because he's a multimillionaire, right? He's worth, what, $100, $200 million? She figured, I landed a shark, baby. He's rich as shit. I'll never have to work again. Oh, I forgot to change my behavior accordingly and not be a nasty, nagging cunt. So he dumped my ass. Yeah. It turns out that a smart guy like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's still not married because he's smart, he's not going to get with just any broad, okay? He's going to be very, very picky. So you're going to have to adapt your behavior and be really, really great for him to keep you. I shouldn't have to be great. I have a pussy and I'm hot. Yeah, but he's a good-looking guy, and he's really rich, so he can get any hot broad. Don't you have anything else to bring to the table except your looks? No! Well, that's why he dumped your ass. Yeah. Ah! But there's why he kept her around for as long as he did. Whoa! Nice! Very, very nice. Not much there beyond her looks, but I'll give her that. She's a good-looking broad. I'll compliment women on their looks if they're attractive, okay? Because who gives a fuck? So what? You're good looking. Meh. That's God-given. That's not something that you've earned. That's not virtue, okay? So whoop-de-fucking-do. Yeah, she's got a nice body. Whoopee. Whoopee. She probably just sits around and watches TV all day. Just doesn't eat. She's just skinny. That's all. All right. So far this year, oh, this is great. Heatherton claims she only makes $1,089 a month, and $221 of that comes from family and friends, according to The Blast. How did she... Well, wait till you hear how much she used to make. I'm wondering, what happened? Well, Leonardo happened, right? Like all good-looking women who get with a rich guy, they just let themselves go. Both in their appearance, which is probably part of why he dumped her, because he's only with her in the first place because of her looks. And also she let herself go in terms of her work ethic, which, come on, model, not much work ethic there. All right, so the model's living expenses total to a little over $1,000. Really? What's she living in, a shoebox? She living in a cardboard box behind a Walmart? McDonald's? Is she eating leftover hamburgers out of the bin? So, boy, she says that this year she made $2,820, and she currently has $919 in her checking account, the outlet reported. Well, I'll give you a little cheddar, honey. I'll give you a little cheddar if you still look that good. But I want something in return. I'm too good for that. Yeah, right. Meanwhile, you've been whoring yourself out to Leonardo for the past year, and that's why you're broke. And obviously, Leonardo was smart enough not to give her too much money. I mean, I don't doubt that he took her on vacations. Maybe he let her live with her. Maybe financed her lifestyle to a certain extent. But he clearly gave her no money. Or if he did, she probably spent it on fucking handbags. According to legal documents, Heatherton is also deep in credit card debt. It's always the case with these good-looking broads. They never look to their future, and by the time they reach 30, they're drowning in fucking debt. And it seems to correlate to their level of attractiveness. So she's a 10, 9.5, 10. So she's got $1 million in debt. So it seems to match up in hundreds of thousands, So if she were at 5, fives, nobody will give them anything. You got to be over a 7, I think, to get money out of a dude, right? And even then, you'd have to have a decent personality. It's only 10s that can be objectionable cunts and still get paid. According to legal documents, she's deep in credit card debt stemming from when the model took out 3 credit cards from City National Bank in 2010. Heatherton currently owes $11,000 on one, $9,400 on another, and $194,000 on a third, adding up to a whopping $215,000 in credit card debt alone. Holy shit. Right. Well, I was right. Okay, so for every point over 5, you can maybe get yourself into $100,000 of debt, because it's not required The more points you have in sexual marketplace value, there's less and less requirement to be intelligent and manage your finances effectively. And of course, at 10, well, $500,000, baby. 5 points above the average. So $500,000 in debt. The model is also indebted to her former business partner for $100,000. Who sued Heatherton for $10 million in 2017 for a sportswear collection they were meant to launch together that never got off the ground. Well, that would require work. And she was probably dating Leonardo at the time. I don't need to work. I'm too pretty. Oh, boy. In October of last year, Heatherton allegedly abandoned the project without warning or justification. She also owes $41,000 in back taxes. It's always the case with these hot-looking broads. And if this goes to court, the judge will just give her a slap on the wrist. Anyway, she's filing for bankruptcy. So, she won't have to pay any of this off. That's great. She just has to find herself a new sugar daddy who, is willing to actually spend money on her. Because clearly Leonardo didn't give her shit. I love it. Last year, Heatherton made headlines after selling her Manhattan apartment for $2.68 million. What the fuck? Not even a year ago, this bitch had an apartment that she sold for what did she do with the money? She lost $2.6 million in a year while Leonardo was probably flipping some of the bills and the nights out at the bars and paying for meals and shit. How in the hell? It seems like the better looking you are, the worse off you are when it comes to managing your finances. The Sports Illustrated model alum purchased the pad for $1.7 million in 2012 and had been trying to sell it since 2016 after being sued by her neighbors for unreasonable levels of noise. She's highly irresponsible. I love it. So Heatherton and Decaprio, who's 44, dated from 2011 to 2012. Oh! Geez, this article, which is very recent, which is this month, made it seem like they were still together. Wow. 2012? 7 years ago, so she was 23 at the time. Yeah, what am I thinking? Leonardo DiCaprio's not going to date a 30-year-old broad. Holy shit. But the article goes on to say they break up as amicable, and they're still friends. At the time they're split. They're not good enough friends for him to pay off her debt, though, are they? That's great. I gotta love it. I cannot tell you how much it makes me smile and laugh to hear about one of these rich broads who got her money just for being attractive, and then she loses it all because, the closer she gets to 30, the less willing men are to pay for her shit, so the more she has to shell out the money herself, and lo and behold, when she gets to 30, she's $500,000 in debt. So the wall is real, gentlemen. The wall is real. All right, can open up the Skype. Skype. Let's get rid of this picture. Seen enough of this broad already. That pic does nothing for me. Okay. So if you'd like to comment on Miss Heatherton, Skype is now open. Ever had a broad in your life that tried to get money out of you? Have a comment or an opinion on this, or Wayman in general, in regards to sponging off of rich dudes? Feel free to Skype me at the Realist Philosopher. That is the Realist Philosopher. That's great. She's so much in debt, but I bet she's living fine. I bet she's surrounded by all her wonderful wealth. Shoes and handbags and jewelry. Oh my, why didn't she sell some of that? I have no wealth! Yeah, she probably got some storage locker somewhere with like millions and millions of dollars of shit in it that's off the books in somebody else's name, right? All her Gucci handbags, she's going to save those until they get antique-ish, right? All that really, really expensive shit like handbags and such, especially handbags, that stuff actually, if you keep it in good shape, I found this out and I was really shocked because I watched a show on TV, some kind of pawn broker in Europe, and he was a pawnbroker to the rich, and he would evaluate items from rich people who, while they had a lot of assets, didn't have a lot of liquidity. So they would bring in their really expensive shit to pawn, like jewelry and handbags. And it turns out that if handbags are well maintained, meaning you don't keep in a fucking closet and they get moldy and shit and smell like mold, they go up in value, which is very interesting, I think. So Yeah, if she maintains that stuff, and again, I find it very hard to believe that this broad hasn't accrued a copious amount of fucking expensive handbags, because all these rich, good-looking model broads, they spend their money on these status symbols, okay? Jewelry and shoes and handbags. And while the shoes aren't resellable very well, handbags are. She's probably got hundreds of handbags, lots of fucking jewelry and shit in that storage locker. And once she files for bankruptcy after a couple years, she'll start to slowly sell that shit off online under somebody else's name and identity. Yeah, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. Meanwhile, she'll find herself a new fucking sugar daddy boyfriend who'll pay all the bills. Yeah, now she's 30, but she's still a good-looking fucking broad. She's dropped from a 10 to a 9 if she's kept herself in good shape, but still as a 9, she'll be able to get taken care of, all right? So anyway, anybody feels like calling in, commenting on Skype? All right, we'll close that out and move on to the next story. So how it works is essentially once I finish talking about a specific story, I'll open up Skype for about 90 seconds, give anybody that wants to comment the chance to Skype me. And I think 90 seconds, 2 minutes is long enough, all right? If you can't push a mouse button within that period of time, well, being able to, yeah, that's the least of your problems. You might have a problem, physically, if you can't do that. All right, let's move on to the next story. Oh, God. Yeah, postmodernism, relativism, striking again. I have a girl brain, but a boy body. That's bullshit, okay? You can't. I urge you people out there to look into Aristotle and Aristotelian fucking logic. The 3 basic foundational laws of logic. These are key to understanding and disproving the postmodernists of fucking today. Law of identity, law of non-contradiction, law of excluded middle. Hello, you can't be 2 things at the same fucking time that are diametrically opposed, that are opposite. You can't be a girl and a boy at the same fucking time. You're either one or the other, bitch. So it looked like your typical reading class, dozens of kindergarten kids. Oh no, kindergartners are read transgender stories at transgender story time. Oh, and this is March 2019. This is very recent. Oh, God. It looked like your typical reading class. By the way, how is this a class? The kids just sit around. I don't know if they have books and they're reading along with you, or if they're just being read to. But wouldn't it be more of a story time and more educational and useful if the kids were going around and reading page by page themselves? I remember we had reading class in school, and it would go from student to student to student, and we would read a paragraph, and then the next student would read a paragraph, and so on and so forth. Instead, this is just a bunch of kids being read to, almost as if it's an indoctrination, re-education session, which it is. Accept this deviancy is normal, and to normalize it, we will read it during kindergarten story time. Now transgender story time. Dozens of kindergarten students sat cross-legged on the floor, watching their teacher turn their first page. It didn't take long for the 5-year-olds to realize this is no ordinary children's book. I have a girl brain, but a boy body. Miss McBride started. This is called transgender. Oh, God. It's called bullshit. It's called fantasy. It's called LARPing. It's called make-believe. It's called not fucking reality. I was born this way. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You were influenced by social media, by your hippie parents, by school reading you books about fucking transgender, thanks to a new partnership between 2 radically liberal forces. Oh, God. Yeah, as if the words radically liberal could denote anything good. The National Education Association and Human Rights Campaign. Yeah, because it's a human right to pretend you're a dog. Or a wayman when you're a man. There's no telling how many elementary school students heard the exact same message in their own classrooms. That's because Monday was Read Across America Day, and for the first time, the country's biggest LGBT extremists were official sponsors. I want to understand something. And I want you to understand something, too. You need to get over this belief that 10% or more of the population are homos, or homosexuals, or lesbians. It's less than 1%. Less than 1%. Like 0.5% of the fucking population are these deviant people, okay? That's it. It's not 10%, not 20%, it's not 50%. If you listen to these homos, 50% of people are really latent homos. Most people are natural homos. They just don't want to admit it because of social stigmatization. Yeah, this is wishful thinking, right? Because, they'd have more people they could pick up and bang. Because, gay relationships are all about sex. You can't make kids, can you? So, the NEA, which has been a satellite office for the far left wing of the Democratic Party. Oh, God. It gets worse. Oh, boy. All right, let's move on here. Encouraging kids to accept their worst, live out. This is crazy stuff. So in the Washington Post article about this new initiative, no one explains whether parents were warned. Judging by both organizations' track record, it's safe to assume they weren't. This is great. I remember I took sex education class in school, and I had to get a permission slip. And I think I was like fucking 15 or 16 or something. 15 maybe, but you still had to get a permission slip. Meanwhile, you got little 5-year-olds going to school. Hi, my name is Danishta the Great Drag Queen Biatch. I want to teach you about gay sex today. Oh my God. Here's how you take it into pooper, kiddies. I've got illustrations for you. Big, giant, pineapple-shaped bitch with this gigantic fucking 80s hairdo. Trying to look like Liz Taylor. Telling you about anal sex as a 5-year-old? What the fuck? Oh, but this is perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. When an otherwise healthy biological boy believes he's a girl, or an otherwise healthy biological boy, a girl believes she's a boy, an objective psychological problem exists or is created that lies in the mind, not the body, and it should be treated as such. Yes, 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 yes. You're creating a problem here that didn't prior exist. And I guarantee you that Desmond is amazing. He was just picking up on mommy's biases. Mommy talked about how she liked that fucking drag kid, club kid that murdered his drug dealer that was later a video. Remember that video? Desmond is Amazing was in that video with that Michael Alec or whatever his fucking name was, sitting around eating what looked like cum out of little fucking bowls. It was crazy, man. Yeah, because the way you can show you love your child is to let him have interviews with convicted murderers, right? Yeah. And they got pictures of fucking Rohypnol, in big bold letters on the back, on the wall behind them, right? And that's supposed to be, modern art. I want to let my kids sit around with people like that. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. So for years, LGBT activists wanted to keep the goal of luring children into sexual confusion under wraps, right? They hadn't indoctrinated enough of the population, gotten enough people into positions of authority and influence, and they hadn't scared shitless enough conservatives to keep their mouth quiet to be able to be open about it. But now they've achieved their goal, and they have pussified enough of you people out there and enough of you men out there to be able to be out in the open with this shit. Now that they've hoodwinked a lot of the country on their agenda, these extremists no longer have to hide, right? In fact, they are increasingly bold, even boastful about their real intentions of recruiting kids. And I've seen this in the news, by the way. I see a bunch of these left-wing liberal nutjobs talking about how pedophilia is some kind of acceptable thing. It's like being gay. We should accept it. There's no context where sex between an adult, okay, and a child is acceptable, okay? Now, okay, you could argue some gray areas for, like, kids that are 16 years old, okay? And you could argue whether or not that's actually a kid. I mean, 16 is pretty old in regards to that. I mean, you could do some arguing there maybe in the moral gray areas. But a 10-year-old, preteens, I don't think so. This is just... God. Oh, some of this shit just leaves you speechless, man. Just leaves you fucking speechless. And this next story, by the way, so if you'd like to let me know what you think about this, drag queen story time, I'm going to open up Skype again. I keep forgetting to open that up. What the hell? Oh, it's uploading a new version of Skype. Lovely. I love when I go to open up a program, and then instead of opening it, it fucking downloads something without my permission. Stupid. Yeah. All right. So, what do you think of Drag Queen Story Time? An effort to homoize our kids, turn them into homos, so that old gay dudes can have a larger pool of young people to ostensibly bang? When they reach legal age, of course, at least until, pedophilia is normalized too. Or is it a good thing? Is it a good thing? Yes. Are people becoming more liberal-minded, and is that good? Let me know via Skype. My Skype name is The Realist Philosopher. That is The Realist Philosopher. I need some more coffee here. This shit is depressing me. Well, not really, but I need any excuse to drink some more fucking coffee. Oh, boy. I keep getting the levels wrong. There's no little line markers inside the bottle, so I have to guesstimate how much for 2 cups. And I'm getting it wrong more often than right. There's still some coffee left over in the fucking tin. Anyway, yeah, because the one thing you want when you go to school, and these schools are not contacting the parents. That's my big problem. Well, it's not my only problem. There shouldn't be any situation where you can sign a permission slip to let your kid go to a drag queen fucking story hour at the age of 5. These people shouldn't be allowed in the building. Look at what happened with the fucking Boy Scouts, okay? Look what happened with the Boy Scouts. They let the gays in as scout leaders. What happened? Sexual assaults skyrocketed. They went through the roof. It doesn't mean that gays have a higher propensity for abusing young children. What it means is that when you had straight guys in the positions before, they're not attracted to men, so they're not going to abuse them. Now you bring in all these gay guys, some of them are going to be pedophiles, and they're around people they're attracted to. Even if they were pedophiles, if they were straight, they wouldn't be attracted to the boys, so they wouldn't abuse the boys. Oh, it's a great idea to have a bunch of gay scout leaders who then abuse the boys. Because statistically speaking, some of them are going to end up being pedophiles, which the left seems to think is a great thing. Yeah, because they're a bunch of degenerates. So let me know what you think on Skype by Skyping me at The Realist Philosopher. That is The Realist Philosopher. All this time I've been speaking, Skype is open. I let you know when I open it, and I'll let you know when I close it. So nobody's contacted me, so I'm going to close Skype. And by the way, if you'd like to be on the show, you can send me a Skype anytime. I'll add you as a contact when I open it up. I check it once or twice a day. And also you can email me at admin@therealistphilosopher.com. And donate via Patreon, patreon.com/therealistphilosopher to donate on a per-piece basis. I create 3 pieces a week. You choose how much, or on a monthly basis, patreon.com/realistphilosopher. No the. And that's just a once-a-month donation platform. So any of those would be great. Also, I'm on DLive right now. So if you want to follow me on DLive, if you're watching on YouTube, there should be a link in the description, but just go to dlive.com/therealist. That's my name on DLive. And DLive is a very interesting platform. It uses blockchain, so they don't have the censorship issues, and they fund themselves through Bitcoin and mining Bitcoins, and they use your content to do that. And you can buy Bitcoins. I think they're called Lino coins. Well, they're not Bitcoins. I mean crypto coins, right? And you buy their Lino coins. It's totally anonymous, and you can donate via the Lino coins to whatever producers of content you want. And I believe PewDiePie's on there now. Yeah, so if you want to make a one-time donation, follow me on DLive, and you can make it there. Okay, moving on. Oh boy. Yeah, this is... Oh, of course. Yeah. But this is why we're in such trouble. American generals, again, are warning that America's youth are getting too fat and stupid to join the military. Now, I want this to sink into your brain for a second, okay? Too stupid to join the military. Now, keep this in mind now. The same military that had that toothless, meth head Native American Nathan Phillips banging that fucking drum in that poor that Covington kid's face and claiming that he was being abused and oppressed and harassed. That fucking guy was in the military. That sub 100, 85 IQ moron was a fucking refrigerator repairman in the military. You have to be real fucking stupid not to be able to get in. I mean like Forrest Gump dumb. I mean like 83 fucking IQ dumb to not be able to get into the military. And yet, the majority of Americans are ineligible for the military. Oh my God. What's happening? So an organization comprised of hundreds of retired general officers is once again sounding the alarm on the state of America's youth. So Mission Readiness, which is a bipartisan organization of 750 retired generals and admirals. Okay, so these bitches know what they're talking about. These fucking guys, generals and admirals, they've risen to the highest levels of the fucking military. I think they know what they're talking about. Released its latest report last week detailing the dire straits facing military recruiters. Haven't I been talking about this? I've been talking about this for years. The goal of the left is both internally and externally to weaken the United States to such a point that we will be defeated both from within and then from without, or maybe just from within. But this is a perfect example of how weak and unconcerned and apathetic and stupid the majority of Americans are, and they're reaching a point where we will not in any way, shape, or form be able to defend ourselves. According to the report titled Unhealthy and Unprepared, an estimated 71% of all young people in the U.S. between the ages of 17 and 24 do not qualify for military service. 71%! Holy shit! Obesity disqualifies about 31% of youth. Wow. Now that's youth. You add another 20 years, they're going to be much fatter than they already are. Oh, my God. So in North Carolina, an estimated 72% of the... Wow. Really? Oh, my God. In North Carolina, an estimated 72% of the population is ineligible. Oh, my God. And that's not even the deep South. I mean, that's technically the South, even though the name is North Carolina. But, wow. I mean, can you imagine how bad it must be in South Carolina? Holy shit. Ineligible to join the military due to being overweight, lacking adequate education, or having a history of crime or drug abuse. So they're going to have to lower the standards. And they're going to have to continue to lower the standards to be able to have anybody to man the fucking walls and protect us. And it's going to reach such a point that everybody in the military is going to be weak and stupid, and we're not going to have enough people to man that fucking wall. But of course, we really don't have to worry about that because the real threat's inside, because we're bringing in all these people by the millions who will just outbreed us and then take over via their vote. And we're not going to stop that either because people have become too stupid to see that threat for what it is. Wow. The new report was unveiled Wednesday by a group of retired officers. Retired Lieutenant General Samuel Ebbison said Mission Readiness has been warning the country about the impact of obesity and stupidity on a national security level for nearly a decade. He said acting now to address the issue was critical to the nation's future defense. And unlike Ocasio-Cortez's proclamations of doom about the world ending in 12 years, where there's no actual objective data to prove that, there's actual proof for these claims. Is anybody saying anything beyond these people? We know that the military cannot solve this problem on its own, added retired Lieutenant General Thomas Spoer. Children as young as 2 are experiencing rising obesity rates, and these rates increase with age. Well, yeah, if you eat too much, as you age, you'll get fatter. This demonstrates the need for obesity prevention. Why don't we just make food that isn't loaded with fucking corn syrup? It seems like every fucking thing we eat today is made of fucking corn syrup, i.e. sugar. Why don't we do that? Have natural foods and stop subsidizing the sugar industry to the tune of $20 billion a year. How about we do that? Oh, no. I don't think people realize, by the way, that corn syrup turns off the part of your brain that tells you you're satiated and to stop eating, so you just keep eating. Oh, no, let's not practice preventive maintenance. unhealthy and unprepared advocates for programs that promote healthy eating and physical activity both at school and at home. Officials say healthy lifestyles must be encouraged early in life. Yeah, but again, there's also a chemical component to this. Again, most food is loaded with tons of sugar, tons of corn syrup, which affects your brain chemistry. Corn syrup itself actually depresses the part of your brain that tells you to stop eating when you are full. So you just keep eating. So while, yes, we do need to encourage exercise and healthier eating, again, there's also a chemical aspect to this. It's almost as if there's a plan to make people as fat as humanly possible. Yeah. It's almost as if the goal is to make them into sloths. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why we would want to make people into fat, lazy weaklings. It's a mystery. The report paints a bleak picture of the state of the nation's youth and said the ineligibility of potential recruits was a large reason the Army failed to meet its recruitment goal last year. Wow. I mean, we're talking about, can you imagine how dumb you have to be to not be able to get into the military? I mean, you got to be stupid. Now, I realize many of these cases are because of obesity, but there are also just as many that are because, actually more of the cases are due to lack of education, stupidity. Oh, man. Does anybody out there still doubt that there's an agenda to dumb down the population so that they can become nothing more than useful idiot tax chattel? Yet another example of how I'm right about that. Yeah, the state wants useful idiots. The state wants mindless automatons who'll just do what they're told, go to work, be productive to as much as possible, from each according to their ability, but not each according to their need. Yeah, because then, of course, nobody would be incentivized to do anything, which is really what happens anyway, just a little more slowly, as we saw in the Soviet model. Anyway, yeah, the report notes that of the remaining 29% of eligible youth, only 17% would qualify for active duty, and only 13% would achieve a satisfactory score on the Armed Forces qualification test. I once took this thing online just as a LARP, just to see how I do. I think I scored like a 96 or something, ASFAB or something like that. I think that's like really fucking high. It's not like a 96 or 98 or something. But it was an easy test. I mean, it wasn't difficult at all. I mean, there was no studying. I just saw it online. It was like, see how smart you are. Are you smart enough to rank well on the military hierarchy of people taking this test? Taking on a LARP just for fun. Wasn't that difficult. But apparently, some people are on par with Forrest Gumper's buddy Bubba, which is what Bubba Gump Shrimp was named for. So, yeah, I guess for those people, yeah, the ASFAB is going to be challenging. Is that what it was called? It's called something different now. This was a while ago. Yeah. And while the recruitable population declines, so too is interest in military service. Well, of course. Americans aren't patriotic anymore, let alone nationalistic. They don't care about their country. Most youth hate America. Now, I have heard that young people coming up now who are 18 and below, more and more of them are becoming conservatives, which would make sense because whenever you have the pendulum swing too much one way, there's always a correction at some point, eventually, to move things back to balance. So that would make sense, but I think it might be too little too late, to be honest. So last year, just 11% of 16 to 24-year-olds said they would definitely or probably serve in the military in the coming years. That is down from 13% in 2016. Wow. I mean, it's dropping a lot year by year. Good Lord. So, yeah. The barbarians are not at the gates, folks, okay? I just saw a fucking video from a Western country of some Muslim, and you could tell he was a Muslim because of the way he was dressed, and he was yelling, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, as he hammered away with a chisel and hammer at a statue of the Virgin Mary in the wonderful, beautiful country that was helping him as a political refugee. Yeah, he was so grateful to his host country that took him in and gave him housing and gave him welfare and displaced its own citizens to help him that he was destroying local art that was like hundreds and hundreds of years old. Because, my ideology of Islam teaches me there's no God other than Allah. And now this is my country, motherfucker. I'm in here and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm going to destroy every form of art because I'm not really a political refugee. I am an invader, bitches. And you invited me in. And now I'm going to fuck you in the ass and destroy your country. Yeah. Because that's really all this is, right? So the barbarians are not at the gates. They're in the fucking city. They're sacking Rome as we speak. And you pinheads out there, you pinhead morons are letting them in. And don't tell me that fucking Notre Dame was some kind of accident. We don't know, but we suspect that it might have, maybe, coulda, perhaps was a spark from something. That didn't take light until after we closed the place there. The spark just sat there and smoldered in some old wood. Maybe. We don't know really, but we're speculating. We're pulling shit out of our ass so that we don't really have to look any deeper and find out that it was arson. And now we got the fucking people in France talking about how they're going to rebuild the spire of Notre Dame and maybe include some Muslim Islamic imagery and architecture in it. Yeah, right. Because 1,000-year-old buildings that were 100% Christian in nature, they now need to have Islamic architecture and Islamic symbols put into them, right? To placate the barbarians that you pinheads let into your fucking country. Yeah. If that's not a perfect example of them taking over, I don't know what is. All right, I'm going to open up Skype here for the end of the show. Maybe some of you would like to comment on that story. So, yeah, what do you think? What do you think about the stupidity of the most recent and youngest generation in the West? Because this is worldwide. It's throughout Europe. It's not just America where the population has become so dumbed down and so fat that the majority of them can't serve in the military. It's the entirety of Europe. Is this a problem? Do you think this is a problem? Have you seen examples of the stupidity of your own country's citizens, especially the young people? If so, feel free to Skype me at The Realist Philosopher. That is The Realist Philosopher. Skype is open right now. Be open for about a minute. 90 seconds. So, yeah, I think I said pretty much all I'd like to say about that. I think it's a travesty that the youth, and this is purposeful, by the way, if you think this is some kind of accident, that the entire Western world has dropped one standard deviation in the past 120 years or so, and that's just unexplainable. I don't know how that happened. It's just some kind of random occurrence. If you think that it's just some kind of random occurrence and just some kind of fucking accident, you're a moron too. And you're putting that on display for everybody to see by proclaiming that you think it's just some kind of random accident. No, it's quite purposeful on behalf of the global elites to dumb down everybody, okay? So they can more easily take over by importing ever more low IQ, moron, useful idiots who they can directly control by those people's dependency on the state. Because, yeah, our local population are still too smart and they're still too self-reliant. We need to bring in more low IQ morons who rely on us. And then they'll destroy the country from within, and then we'll have ever more power over them. And then eventually, everybody will serve us. And we can much more easily then usher in a global utopia with no borders and one world government. Yeah, a utopia that's never existed, by the way. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we're going to build this thing that's never existed. Well, where's your blueprint? We're kind of sort of just socially experimenting in country after country, like Venezuela and Cambodia and Cuba. Those didn't work out, but we got some good ideas of what might work. Yeah, more than 100 countries they've tried this shit in, this communist socialist bullshit, and it hasn't worked. And every time it doesn't work, they just say, well, that wasn't real socialism. What is, bitch? You've tried it 100 fucking times. It hasn't worked. You have no examples of what you call real socialism. Show me one example where this shit has worked. Oh, well, what about the Nordic countries? They're not socialists, you idiots. I love how people just think because we're using the word social that's socialism. Well, those countries have a lot of social programs. It's called welfare, bitches. Just because they have healthy, robust, they're not healthy, by the way, but just because they have robust welfare programs, that doesn't make them socialist countries. Socialist means the government controlling the ways and means of production. You had the fucking president of what was it, Finland? Telling Bernie to shut the fuck up. He didn't know what he's talking about. Stop calling our country a socialist country. We're a market economy, you moron. That's why we have so much money that we do to put into all these fucking social welfare programs, you idiot. If we weren't a fucking market economy, we wouldn't be able to have these robust social fucking welfare programs. Stop trying to associate social welfare programs with socialism, you pinhead. And that's what they try to do, right? They try to disingenuously conflate welfare, social welfare with actual socialism and say, look, those countries are very successful and they have very successful social welfare programs and those are examples of socialist countries. You see, it works there. It doesn't work in Venezuela, which is an actual socialist country that tried to control the ways and means of production and introduced all these fucking price controls and took over the oil industry and every other fucking industry and tanked the fucking country. Oh, but they don't use that as an example because that's actual socialism. No. They just want to rely on your ignorance, okay? To try and promote socialism by saying, that's real socialism, but it's not. But most people are too stupid to know that, as this fucking article points out. People are getting so dumb, they can't even serve in the military. Okay, here's a gun. Pull trigger. Shoot that guy. Could you repeat that? I'm too fucking stupid to understand the series of events. Pick gun. Do I pull the trigger first? Or do I aim first? Oh, God. All right, so I guess nobody wants to comment on that story, so I'll close out Skype, and I will close out the show on that note. If you'd like to say anything more to me, just been drinking coffee this entire show, so I've got cotton mouth. If you'd like to say anything more to me about any of the subjects discussed here, please feel free to post a comment in the comment section. And if you'd like me to comment on any specific subject, you can email me at admin, A-D-M-I-N, at therealistphilosopher.com. That's admin at therealistphilosopher.com. That's my private email address. And my website is therealistphilosopher.com. You can find all the links to all my content there. And if you'd like to support my content, if you'd like to support my content creation and my channel, I get no monetization directly on a consistent basis in regards to advertising dollars. I get no monetization from YouTube. So if you could find it in your heart to just donate a little, even $1 a month would help. You will find my Patreons, and I know everybody hates Patreon because they censor and shit, but I have no choice. I tried to get on that subscribe star, but they got a bunch of fucking hoops you have to jump through still. They're still not big enough to accept all comers. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops. I don't have the time for that. So again, my per piece creation, my per content piece creation Patreon is patreon.com/therealistphilosopher, patreon.com/therealistphilosopher. I post 3 pieces a week there. You could donate as little as 50 cents a piece. That'd be like $1.50 a week, so $6 a month. Or you could just go to my monthly Patreon, which is patreon.com/realistphilosopher, no the, and donate, $5 a month, $2 a month, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you ingest my content, you watch it, you feel you get a good laugh, you learn a little something, I'd appreciate it if you could donate. That would be great. Enables me to make more content, and of course, it is something in regards to motivation. I am a capitalist. I am red-pilled. I understand how reality works. And if you're watching my content and enjoying it, you probably have a higher than average IQ as well. So you have some appreciation for the red pills I'm putting out there. And if that's the case, please consider donating to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gab. I'm not on Instagram too much, or Gab, but I am on Facebook and Twitter a lot. On Facebook, I am Magus Reason. You can see all the links at the bottom of the page. On Twitter, I'm The Realist Philosopher. Well, no, I'm The Realist 1967. On Gab, I'm The Realist Philosopher, and the same on Instagram, I think. I'm not quite sure, because again, I don't use Instagram that much. I'll have to check it out. Anyway, that's it for this show. I will see you again on Monday. Same time, same channel. I might make some content during the weekend. I might not. I'm not sure. It depends on how busy I am. But I'll definitely see you again on Monday. And that's it. I am The Realist Philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.